Hello and welcome to the HomeBhoys bonus, another HomeBhoys bonus podcast here with myself, Joe McKenna. And this week, we on the HomeBhoys like to bring you different podcasts about different subjects, not just necessarily about Celtic, but about different sports. We have baseball, we have Cosmos, we got everything. We had the Justice for the 96. And this week, we're going to bring you a guy who's, over the past couple of days, become my new hero. And he is late welterweight boxer from Framingham, Massachusetts, pride of Boston. Let's give you a bit of a rundown on this guy's stats. He is 4 times New England Golden Gloves champion, won the 2008 National Golden Gloves at late welterweight. Also won, he was voted outstanding boxer of the tournament. Also beat Manuel Felix Diaz in his amateur career. Am I right there, Danny?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he eventually went on to win the Olympic gold. And we got many other things to cover. So let me introduce you all to the furious fenian fists of Danny O'Connor.
Thanks, man. I'm happy to be here.
It's good to have you, Danny. It's good to have you. I want to kind of give it.
Wait a minute. Is that something you just made up there?
I made that up when I was having my tea.
Right.
So we just got a bit of an introduction to you, Danny. I suppose first off, your family background in terms of being Irish. With a name like you're Daniel Thomas O'Connor.
Yeah.
So there's certainly some sort of Irish connection there, isn't there?
Yeah, there's some roots that go back to Donegal. I know when I was a young boy, my dad brought me over to Ireland. And, I was really young, and he tried to track the family tree and, went to some various grave sites to see some relatives and stuff like that. But, it's generations back. I'm American. I was born here. So, as I'm proud of my heritage, I still, I'm American.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, being from Massachusetts, I suppose, like all Bostonians, there's a massive Irish diaspora out there that you can't sort of help coming under, I suppose, and it seems to me that the way you're set up now as a professional and the way the whole operation around you, which we'll get into in a second, is very much about family connections and community connections and everybody helping each other. And I think you're becoming a bit of the pride and joy, and the future looks really, really bright for boxing. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's well said. I think, at the end of the day, I'm just a normal dude, and if I wasn't doing this, I'd probably be, laying brick or doing something blue collar. So I think I'm kind of a different breed than a lot of the other athletes, so I'm more relatable to, the everyday person.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fantastic. I love hearing that. You're like a real life Rocky. I love you, Donnie.
Yeah.
This sounds like me.
Sounds exactly like you, Harper. You just could be separated at birth. So let's just take it back. We'll talk about football as well. I don't know. This is going to fly all over the place because there's so much to talk about. In terms of your football background, because this is predominantly a football show, you started playing football when you were 5. Did I read that right?
Yeah, my first sport was, over here we call it soccer.
Soccer, I forgot that.
Yeah, so that was my first sport, and, I played it all the way since I was born, all the way through high school. Boxing I do as a job, and I love it, but, playing soccer is my passion. I still get out there now and try to kick around as much as I can. The coaches and everyone don't really like it too much, but every now and again I get a chance to get out there. I got my boots right next to me right now, actually.
And you're a Celtic fan, of course. We see that on your Facebook. How did that come about?
I've always in my whole life been a soccer fan, and being from the Boston area, Celtic was, one of the teams that a lot of people were supported. So, a bit ago I got to know them, and the more it's difficult because over here in America. I hate to say it, but soccer is kind of second tier. It's hidden behind American football, basketball, everything. So, it's harder to find followers. So I think, I love to research. So I read, and the more I read about Celtic, the more I love it, man. And I also have my own team over here, the New England Revolution, which I, support, and I'm part of the supporters group with them.
Did I read here that they made you honorary captain?
Yeah, they made me honorary captain for a game. I got to go out into the half and flip the coin, and it was amazing.
Did they let you play?
No. I only got to flip the coin. That's about as far as that went.
I was going to say, this guy must be good. They let him play. I was like, Jesus.
Hey, I would have suited up if they needed me. I was ready for it.
And in terms of other parallels with Celtic, I suppose, you're also part of the New England Rebellion.
Yeah.
Which is basically like the New England Revolution's version of the Celtic Screen Brigade. They go there to add atmosphere and bring a real environment.
Yeah, so there's us, and then there's the Midnight Riders and the Rev Army, and we're all the support group of the Revolution, and we have our own designated area that we sit every time. It's called the Fort, and it's the diehard loyal supporters.
Fantastic. Anybody else want to chip in with some questions there, Harper? Did you want to say something?
I just wanted to make sure that the listeners know myself and Paul were here, seeing as you never introduced us.
Oh, did I not? Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got all excited and like a fanboy. I forgot to introduce you.
Starstruck.
I didn't mean to offend your egos or anything, But anyway, just in case anybody didn't know, Harper and Paul are here as well.
Danny, when you were talking about being a kind of Celtic fan, and was this something you found when you were growing up, or was it only the last few years that you kind of discovered Celtic and the Irish background? Or was it something in Boston, growing up, and did you see many games or any of that kind of stuff?
No, it's been the last few years. I don't want to try to act like I've been a diehard fan since day one, because that's not true. I've been a soccer fan since day one, but Celtics it's a bit more recent. Other than the team, my manager for boxing is actually Ken Casey from the Dropkick Murphys, and he was the one that was big into introducing me to Celtic, because he's actually played at Celtic Park a few times with the Dropkick Murphys, and he's been to a few home matches live, so he would tell me, the type of atmosphere, like for any game that's played over there, I can only see it from the TV when I'm here. So, seeing 60,000 people cheer and chant in unison and being able to hear them over the TV, I can only imagine what it's like to be there in person and to be part of that. And, that's something that I can't even explain, man. I can't wait to get to a home match and be able to be part of the whole thing.
Superb. Hopefully that'll happen very, very soon for you, Danny. Hopefully.
Yeah, well, I got the drop kicks are coming back to play in January, so it's a definite that I'm going to come over there with them in January.
Fantastic. That'll be quite a weekend.
Oh, man, I can't wait.
Go ahead, Paul. You want to jump in there?
Well, I was interested what Danny said about actually playing soccer. I just wondered that, in the rough and tumble of playing soccer, he was ever tempted to, just knock somebody out.
No, you know what? I'll be honest. The whole resume that you read about my boxing, when you look at it at paper, it's probably thought that, I've been boxing forever, but I honestly haven't. I didn't start boxing until I was 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And how did that come about? I mean, how did you decide to go for boxing? Was it just something you've loved all your life?
And if I can just expand on that question, Danny, I mean, I've seen you've said before that you wanted to be a professional soccer player. Was there a stage, like when you said, like at 16, where you realised, well, the soccer's maybe not going to happen, so you turned to boxing? Was that the case?
No, you know what happened? I had a coach in high school who was shit, and it made me, rethink the soccer game, which,
Danny, me and you are exactly the same, man. I mean, I could have been a star as well. Like, it's the school that done
it. You know what? And that's another thing. That's why I think coaches are so important for any sport, because they're going to make or break the kids wanting to continue to do that. So, that's a whole different subject. But, no, when I was old enough my mother shied me away from any sport that had contact. I didn't play football, American football. I didn't play hockey, nothing. So, it was soccer my whole life. And then when I was old enough to choose, for some reason, boxing was just, I had always watched it. I had loved the sport even before I tried it. And when I was old enough to choose myself, I put on a pair of gloves and never put them down.
Wow. And, I mean, straight off the bat, did you have a talent for it? Was it straight away that people noticed, or you noticed yourself that this was the kind of sport that you could excel in?
Well, I think so, definitely, because that whole resume was, such a short period of time. It was all hard work that got all those wins, over the Olympian, the national championships. The only thing that I couldn't match other people was experience. A lot of people in the boxing game, especially at the elite level, have been boxing since I've been, 2-3 years old. So it's the only thing I couldn't compete with. But other than that, I think a lot of hard work, beats talent any day. So I work my ass off to get where I am.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up as well. I mean, you're obviously in Texas right now. You're not in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
You're training down there for a year. Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, I've been here for a year, yeah.
And that's got to be tough. You've got a wife and a child back in Massachusetts. I mean, in terms of commitment and being serious about your sport and serious about your career, I mean, obviously you've come to the conclusion that this is the shot. I mean, this is it. And that you're putting in all the sacrifices and all the hard time. So Tell us, I mean, what's a basic day for a guy like you, a professional boxer who's coming, I mean, fast through the ranks?
Well, shit, it's a full-time job. I can't lie about that. I mean, I'm at the gym in the morning for a session, I'm at the gym in the afternoon for a session, and I'm at the gym at night for a session. I have 2-3 workouts a day on top of coming home in between, watching film. I really am a student of the game. I don't believe in luck. I think there's unprepared or prepared. So whatever chance I can have to watch film, to study, to read, to do whatever I have to do, I do it. So on top of that, it's a diet. You're always sacrificing going out. I mean, it really is a full-time job.
Wow. I don't think any of us could even fathom what that's like. We can't even.
If it was your job, and I'm not out here trying to be better than anyone or do anything. I'm just trying to make a living for my family and for my wife and son. So, if it was your job and you had to do it, I think you'd be able to do it too.
We can't even get through a podcast without beer, Danny. Danny, so chances of
a good podcast to drink beer.
I'll tell you
So
what.
Danny, you said you're a student of boxing. What boxers would you aspire to and look up to and class as your heroes?
Ricky Hatton, man. He's definitely been one of my favorite for a long time. I really like Ricky Hatton. Pernell Whitaker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because Pernell Whitaker's coach trains me, who's Ronnie Shields, one of the best in the world. That's why I'm in Texas.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Ronnie Shields worked with Tyson and Evander Holyfield as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
How did that come about? I mean, that connection.
Well, it's a funny story. I'll give a little background just for anyone that's listening who doesn't know fully about me. So, the whole resume you read was all the amateurs, and as a pro, I was 14-0, and I really, I had everything good going for me. And I was on the brink of, kind of breaking out, letting people know who I was. I had a huge fight on Showtime. 5 minutes before the fight, I started spitting up blood in the locker room. And it was that type of dark blood that was like from the stomach. So, my wife at the time, Diane, Liam was only 2 months old. I knew that rent had to be paid. I hid it from the doctor. I went into the fight that night. I lost something ugly. I lost a decision. I just wasn't right. So came out of the fight, found out I had an ulcer that was bleeding. I was anemic, a whole bunch of health issues. I was in and out of the hospital for a long time. On top of that, I broke my nose in the fight, so I had to go in for nasal surgery, which, fuck, man, was the worst thing ever, man. And, taking my first loss and, something that you're so passionate about and that you literally put every second of every day into, I was devastated. I really was. On top of having a new family, I didn't really know what was going to happen. That's when I met Coach Ronnie. I was contacted him through someone else, a mutual friend, and Coach Ronnie offered to train me, and I bought a one-way ticket the next day. I left Diane and Liam all the money I had. It was like $400. Bought a one-way ticket, no luggage, just brought my boxing stuff. I showed up to Texas. I had nowhere to live. No car, no money, nothing. I just showed up. I said, Coach Ronnie, I'm here. And, slowly but surely things started, building my career, just everything. And honestly, at the time, it was scary because I had never, I didn't want to leave Boston. It was home. I loved it. My family was there. But it honestly was the best decision I've ever made coming to work with Coach Ronnie. The level that, his knowledge, his everything, just, he really is the elite trainer. And I believe, in my mind, one of the best in the world.
Yeah, has anybody bought the movie rights to this yet?
Absolutely.
I think Paul was a booking here, man, I'm telling
you. And then being down here, I met Ken Casey, who I can't even tell you how much of a lifesaver he's been to me and my family. A lifelong friend he will be to me. And, the music industry and boxing is kind of similar, in a lot of ways. I actually went on tour with him for a few weeks, and, to see the behind-the-scenes stuff, it really is similar, because at the end of the day, boxing's entertainment, you're putting on a show. So once he kind of got involved with my career and, it's nice having someone look out for you because they care about you and not about just making money off you, you know what I mean? Because boxing can be a dirty sport sometimes, and you just got to surround yourself with good people.
So how did that come about? Is it Ken Casey?
Yeah, he's from the same area. He's from Boston, and
did he come looking for you and say, "Look, I want to come and help you steer your career. I want to manage you," and anything like that, or was it just a chance thing where you were talking in a bar one night and?
It was kind of, well, I do a lot of work for charity back home, and he has his own charity. It's called the Clatter Fund, and I was doing a Clatter Fund event at his bar in Boston, and he heard about me, I heard about him. We kind of struck up a friendship. He kind of got the insight into what was going on in my career and this and that, and he's an avid boxing fan. He loves boxing, so. He kind of was like, what, I think I can help you. And, after that, it was just the best move ever. I mean, being with Ronnie now, my last 5 fights, 4 won by knockout, so I can't complain, you know.
Was it Ken Casey that set you up with Ronnie that sent you down to Texas?
No, I was already down in Texas with Ronnie. My promoter has known Coach Ronnie for 30 years, so he put me in contact with him, and I actually, you know, I think the best thing, and this goes back to me being just a regular person, I think the best thing to do is when you got to handle business, you just do it yourself. So I called Ronnie on the cell phone. I said, hey, you know, I'm Danny O'Connor. I heard you'd be interested in training me. I really appreciate it. I'm coming down. So simple as that.
It's a bit of a fairy tale for you. I mean, you mentioned the Claddagh Fund there. I was just reading up on them. How long has this been going? As they do some really great work. They have alcohol and drug recovery charities, which I know in Massachusetts, and especially like the boxing, like Dick Ackland and stuff. Drugs has been a problem in small areas around Massachusetts. They have the My Brother's Keeper, the Dorchester Boys and Girls Club, Franciscan Hospital for Children, Boston Center for Youth and Families, the Greater Lynn YMCA in Lowell, which is where Dick Ackland is from. How long has that been going?
I don't know when Ken started it, but it's been a while now. You know, they do a lot of good work. They raise, you know, over $1 million a year for charitable organizations.
Well, and the funny thing for us, I suppose, as Celtic supporters, because every week we get on here and we always talk about the Celtic and the ethos of Celtic and how, you know, how we see it and how other people see it. And your sort of story and your ethics and your ethos and everything you've said so far just seems so at home with how we would see Celtic as well. And it's I think it's kind of weird that your honesty in saying you've only been in the Celtic for a couple of years and that, you know, great things are happening for you off the back of the Claddagh Fund and the charities and obviously off your own talent in the fights and winning fights. That, I mean, it all comes together really nicely for us, I think, as Celtic supporters, you know. So you're hopefully you're going to become a bit of a hero for us all, Danny. No pressure, no pressure.
You know, hearing that is I mean, it really is a type of a fairy tale. It's unreal. I mean, I'm so excited last night I couldn't even sleep to get on the podcast with you guys. I mean, I love stuff like this. Like, you know, you think a year ago I was living in an apartment with literally no furniture, anything at all. I was using a boxing glove as a pillow, and I had to keep the lights on all night so the cockroaches wouldn't come out and bite me. And then to be in the situation I am in now, only a year later, I mean, it's unreal. And the more, like, I can only do what I can do over here about Celtic. Like, you know, I do a lot of reading about it, and a lot of the stuff that I feel similar to the Celtic. You know, I read about how charitable they are and, you know, all the stuff that they're doing through the charities. And, you know, another huge thing is the supporters. You know, I read that Celtic has the highest average home attendance in 2010 season. I mean, it's I feel really similar to the way that they run the show over there, you know?
Yeah. Do you know something that I'm really enjoying at the minute? And this is just obviously kind of you're. I'm not going to blow smoke up your arse. You're new to us. Do you know what I mean? Your name only really came on our radar in the last couple of months. I think you actually started following the Homeboys on Twitter, and that's how we kind of got to know you. But I was a big boxing fan when I was younger. But it seemed to me recently there's been nothing for Scottish or Irish boxing fans to get excited about in the way sort of homegrown boxers. So the next best thing you try and latch on to boxers that are exciting. And you mentioned Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton is the only boxer who I would have sat up through the night to watch fight in Vegas in the last 5 years. But when I was younger, like, my hero was Nigel Benn. Was my favourite boxer. Still to this day, the fight, I mean, I know it was a tragic ending for Gerald McClellan, but the fight between Ben and McClellan in 1995 is still the best boxing fight I've ever seen. I mean, you think at that time you had the Celtic Warrior, Michael Collins, and you had Eubank and everything at the same time. It was an exciting time for boxing, but for me, I've kind of drifted because there's nobody to get excited about. I don't think Ricky Hatton's the last person that really done it for me. Although the Olympics here were brilliant there with the Irish fighters and Kate Taylor and John Joe Nevin and stuff. But suddenly this guy appears on my Twitter feed and and he's in Boston. He's fighting on SNY Network, and he's pulling the hoops on after the fight. He's got the Celtic away socks on, right? And I'm thinking, maybe this guy's just an amateur. But then I'm looking, he's not. He's a professional. He's 19 professional fights. He's 18-1. Oh man, this is a guy we've got to get interested in. This is something that automatically, as a Celtic fan and a one-time boxing fan who's kind of drifted away from it, is something that's really, really sparked my interest, and I'm really excited to follow your career from now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And, I don't think you're alone in that. I think a lot of people have been turned off, from the sport. There hasn't been that one person that you can really get behind. And, there's no argue there. Ricky Hatton was definitely that person. I mean, as soon as tickets went on sale, he'd sell 9,000 tickets from people over there coming over here to Vegas to watch him fight. Yeah. And, the type of support that he has and still has right now is, kind of what I'm trying to get. You know what I mean? I love having the support of people. I have my own fans over here that support me and motivate me daily. And then, since I walked out of the ring 12 days ago, the Celtic family has embraced me, which has been amazing. Like, I can't, to have fans and to do something that I'm passionate about and that I love doing and have people take notice and appreciate me for it is a really good feeling. But at the same time, I want to earn that respect and I want to earn that support. I don't want people to just like me because I'm wearing the hoop shirt. I want, people to I want to earn their respect. So, every new supporter that I got, I'm thankful for it. And I am a social media monster. As you can tell, I'm always on Twitter. I love it. And the reason why I love it is because every single person that talks to me or writes me a Facebook message or emails me, I will respond to. It might take me a while because nowadays, they get more and more, but I will respond because for any person, any average person, just like me, an average person that takes their time to write me, I will always respond.
Fantastic.
You're a bit like Paul in that respect as a Twitter monster. If you're on Twitter more than Paul, then I tell you, you're doing well.
That's why me and you have the fans, Danny. See,
Paul, what about yourself? Like kind of boxing. I mean, are you a big boxing fan?
Yeah. I mean, I concur with what you were saying. I mean, I was, for an early age, I would, listen to the radio at 4 a.m. in the morning to, listen to Mike Tyson and Frank Bruno fighting in Vegas, and I'd seen a few Steve Collins fights and stuff, and I agree that the kind of excitement has went out of boxing in the last few years. So many different titles now, so many different fighters in that. But when you get somebody like Danny coming along and you hear the passion and the honesty that he speaks with, that's what resonates with people like us, working class people, blue collar people, and somebody that we can actually tag onto and say, here's a guy that's he's keen for the same kind of background as us, and he's going for the top, and I love that kind of stuff. And as Harper said, I'm really excited to follow Danny's career as much as possible as well now.
You think, Paul, for people our age, and Joe's slightly younger than us, and Danny's younger again, but I think Barry McGuigan was the first guy that kind of captured my attention and really sort of. He was the first guy I can remember that suddenly entire families were tuning in to watch Barry McGuigan fight because of the thing where his dad would come in the ring and sing Danny Boy and all that kind of stuff. And it was a theatre to it, and you felt part of it. And I can remember just screaming at the television for Barry McGuigan fights, and that's when it first really grabbed me. And it's that sort of theatre that you want.
I think theatre is a key word there. Guys like him, Eubank, Nigel Benn, they had presence, they had character. Eubank, everybody hated him, but he's a great boxer. You wanted to watch his fights. You were dying to see somebody get, beat him, basically. Yeah. Barry McGuigan, I remember him fighting at Loftus Road in London. And there was probably more Irishmen in that stadium than there was in Ireland that night, That's what we're looking for with boxing. Working class heroes, working class heroes are a hard thing to be. But you hear the way Danny talks about it, he's very down to earth, very honest about it. That's what boxing fans are looking for.
Yeah.
Joe, it's very hard, it's very easy to make the connection between Danny and Mickey Ward, isn't it?
Absolutely. We'll go on to that in a second. I just want to ask Danny a question. I always look out for young fighters. If they have an Irish connection, it always helps. The last fighter that I kind of followed What have been like yourself? What have been John Duddy, Danny?
Oh, I like John Duddy a lot. I followed him too. When he lost to Cesar Chavez Jr., I was pissed for 3 days.
Because that kind of sort of, I didn't hear much of him after that, to be honest with you. Because
you know what? He's doing Broadway in New York.
Seriously?
Yeah, I swear to God. You can follow him on Twitter. I follow him. He doesn't talk much, but yeah, he's doing Broadway. Last I heard.
Is he on a show?
Yeah, one of the musicals.
Is he?
I swear to God,
You're joking me.
I swear to God, and I'm pretty sure it was confirmed. I'll say 90% that's for sure.
That's amazing. So he's not boxing anymore?
No.
Who are we talking about here? John Duddy?
John Duddy is a boxer from Derry, but he trains.
But he's on Broadway.
He's on Broadway on a show.
I know who John Duddy is.
Aye.
I respect John Duddy a lot because he retired, and they asked him. They offered him a lot of money to fight somebody. It might have even been Andy Lee. They offered a lot of money, and he turned it down. And he said that, he wasn't into it anymore. He didn't think he had what it takes, and he didn't want to disgrace the sport of boxing by trying to just get a payday. And I respect that.
Wow, that loss really did a lot to him then, didn't it?
Joe, you know John Duddy is the nephew of Jackie Duddy that was killed on Bloody Sunday.
Is he?
You know the song Jackie?
I did not know that. I know the song, yeah.
You know that song Jackie?
Yeah, Jackie, yeah, I know it, yeah.
Jackie Duddy. Jackie Duddy was his uncle.
I did not.
And he was a boxer at the time he was killed. And that's how John ended up taking up boxing to emulate his uncle who who was murdered on Bloody Sunday.
I did not. I was not aware of that.
I didn't know that either.
That's amazing. We've got to get him on then as well. Turn this into a boxing podcast. In terms of somebody's going to bring something up there. I've completely forgot what I was going to say. Mickey Ward, yes. I've seen videos of you sparring with Mickey Ward. I mean, how close would you be with Mickey Ward now? Obviously, the parallels between your career and his career, there's parallels to be made because you're both Boston guys, And
Joe, just explain maybe a wee bit who Mickey Ward is to the listeners, because there probably a few of them have seen the film and they're maybe not making the connection with what we're talking about.
See, I always forget to do that shit. Tell people what I'm talking about. I just blabber on.
Sorry, I'll keep you right.
Good man. Mickey Ward is basically he's the guy that Mark Wahlberg played in The Fighter, right? Mm-hmm. Is that enough history? And he's also a New England Golden Gloves champion who turned pro. And if you ever seen was it Ward versus Gaddy? Gaddy?
Yep.
They are bloodbaths, those fights. Yep. So if you really want to see two guys beat the living shit out of each other, go and watch those fights because that's exactly what you'll get. In terms of have you got a relationship with Mickey Ward? I mean, is it something you're close to him? Is he part of your setup? Or is just...
Mickey Ward's a good friend of mine. Anybody coming through the ranks of New England, it's pretty small. Everybody knows everyone. So I've known him a long time through the amateurs, but I've developed a good friendship with him because he's really good friends with Ken Casey also. So he's in the circle. He walks me out to my fights, and he comes to support every time I fight. And I don't even have enough good words to say about him. He is a great, great guy.
In terms of walkout songs, he used to walk out to Warriors Code.
Yeah. So Ken Casey made that song for him.
Fantastic! This is all coming together beautifully. What's your walkout song?
For the last one, I came out to "You'll Never Walk Alone." Before that, I came out to "The Foggy Dew" with Sinead O'Connor and the Chieftains.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next one you're coming out to Worldwide Temporary.
I really don't think that song is the kind of song that'll get you pumped up for fighting somebody.
That song was my son Liam's lullaby to bed last night. I played it for him to get him to sleep. It's very soothing. I like them. I like that one and the other one. Boy, I like both of them.
There you go. Joe McKenna's music will put your kids to sleep. In terms of fighting, back to fighting weight and your sort of preparation, Danny, do you find it hard to cut weight? I mean, there's been a lot of talk. I've heard a lot of fighters talk about how certain guys have to cut weight or gain weight, and then they're fighting at an unnatural weight, and that can affect their performance. Do you find that a problem?
Yeah. I mean, anybody that tells you cutting weight is okay is lying because it sucks. But you know what the key is? The real key to making weight is not ballooning up in between fights. Like Ricky Hatton, I love him, but you see how in between fights he would, get really bloated and really big, and his weight would go up so high. That's okay, but then when it comes down to fight time to get that weight off, as you get older, and there's more time in between fights, it gets tougher and tougher. So I think the best way to, like I said, it's a 24-hour job every single day, even when you're not fighting, So that's why you should stay on your diet and keep the weight down as low as you can so that when it does come time to cut those last few pounds at weigh-in, you're not drained, you can do it healthy, and you can recover properly within the 24 hours from weigh-in to the fight.
But would you say you're fighting at a comfortable weight for you?
I would say I'm a big 140-pounder. I always have been. I started my career at 140, and I've held it all the way till now. So I've been at that weight throughout my whole growth as a adolescent.
Well, I've seen some photographs of you as an amateur. I mean, and photographs of you now. You seem to have bulked up a little bit on top since amateur days to now. Does that affect your weight?
It does affect it a little bit. I think, I get a bit bigger now than I used to in between fights. The biggest thing is, when I was an amateur, I didn't really have a steady training regimen. I was still learning stuff, so it was a little bit different. Right now I have a personal strength and conditioning coach, a performance coach, which, we do a bit of weights, a lot of, boxing training has evolved a little bit. It's not just go out and run 8 miles and then go to the gym and spar. There's a lot of, all that new shit that you see going into it, like plyometrics, jumping, and all that stuff. It actually is a bit helpful with everything. So, I think I put on a little bit more muscle. Plus, as you get older, you kind of thicken out a little bit. You get your man strength in. So, it is what it is. At the end of the day, there's 2 fights, one with the scale and then one with the opponent, and you better be damn sure you win both of them.
Yeah, and just looking up your rankings here, Danny, you're 15 in the IBF latest rankings and 22.
15 in the IBF in the world. Don't forget that part.
In the world, and 22 in the WBC.
Yes.
So
that just happened this week. That happened this week on Wednesday.
Wow. And how fast has this raise been for you, Danny? I mean, it's obviously it started off with a massive risk and a huge decision for you. And obviously the hard work is part of it as well. But I mean, have you had time to even stop and take a lot of this in?
No, and I won't have time because I don't want to stop and take it in because 15 is not number 1, so I will not stop until I'm number 1. And when I get to number 1, I still won't stop because it's not in me. I mean, it's not in me to quit. It's not in me to stop. I work hard every day, and it's just, when I was sick after that fight and I was in the hospital. And they didn't know what was wrong with me at first, and they're sticking stuff in every hole I have and running tests. I honestly thought I was going to die. And it really makes you think that life is really short, especially in boxing. You have a really short window to pretty much do anything. So, I don't have time to rest. I don't have time to rest till I know that my family, my son, my wife is going to be okay if I'm not here. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think people forget as well, I mean, boxing is a relatively short career.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like, and the money isn't the same as probably like majority of athletes are getting for playing soccer and obviously baseball and stuff like that. Unless you get to the top. I mean, you really have to fight to get to the top to get the big purses.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's no way around it. Boxing is definitely, a very tough way to make a living. It's not like other sports where, you get a confirmed contract, you get X amount of money per year, plus all this stuff. Boxing's boxing. I get paid when I fight. So that's why I like being, I'm a different type of breed than other fighters. I'm active. I fought in, May, then August, then September is the one that you guys just watched. I was supposed to fight again next week, but I had the flu and double sinus infections right now, so I had to pull out of that. But that will get postponed. Then I'll fight again in November and December.
And see those fights, like when you're talking about you fought in May and then August, September, and you were going to fight next week, are those like ranking fights, or are these just like, I don't know, I mean, I don't really know how it works. I mean, is it set up like it's a friendly fight, or is it a ranking fight? Is this like... How do you, as these fights taking you up the rankings, basically is what I'm asking, like?
every fight will take you up, and any loss will definitely set you back. So every fight's important. And
so you're not taking a bit of a risk taking so many fights on short spaces of time, like?
No, I don't need a rest. I don't need a rest. I like to just get after it while I can. You know what I mean? I think in my mind, when you're in shape and you're ready to fight, what's the point of resting? When you have a 2-3 month training camp, you're more likely to get hurt in the gym, sparring or running, or there's a lot of stress on your body. Like, I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? Well, not right now because I'm sick, but once I recover and I get back to normal, it'll be a different story.
You mentioned
that's my philosophy as well. That's why I'm not going in the gym, because I just don't want to. I just don't want to overdo it. I don't want to put the stress on my legs and my arms.
We'll follow the Danny O'Connor fitness regime. Don't go to the gym.
Works for me, man.
So you mentioned that there, Danny, about being ready to go and how hungry you are and how much of a hard worker you are. And I watched your last fight was with Josh Sosa.
Yes.
The Nino Assassinino. I gotta say, that's the most ridiculous fucking nickname I've ever heard in my life.
The Nino Assassinino.
The Nino Assassinino. I want that guy to make me a burrito. But and I seen you fighting him. You stopped him in the third round. Well, the referee stopped in the third round, and he just couldn't live with how hard you were working on him and the body shots you were hitting him with. He just couldn't take it, and at the end, you just had him on the ropes, and you were just picking him apart, and he couldn't take it. And that's the one thing that straight away at the start of the fight that I seen. I was like, this guy just kept going after him. And is that your philosophy in the ring then as well, or is it more measured?
Well, the background story to that fight is, so that was an HBO fight. I wasn't televised on HBO, but HBO was there, and everybody watching that fight was, really looking at the fighters. So I had already been in that situation once. I was on the brink of having people see me, where I should have shined, and I ended up losing on Showtime. The best night of my life turned out to be the worst. So I was damned if that was going to happen again. So, I came into that fight knowing that I wanted to show HBO and all the fans that came to see me, what I was really about. So, I really got up for that fight. I had a great training camp, and I was so focused, I can't even remember walking into the ring. Usually I always, shake hands with the people going in, the fans and everything. I was so focused on just trying to beat the bag out of that boy and look good in front of HBO and everything that, I really got up and I really got ready for that fight. Usually my work rate is pretty high. I think that's a typical fight, but there's a difference between your work rate being high and sloppy. I'm always a smart fighter. Everything I do is planned and precise.
Yeah, it does seem when you're in the ring, you're a step ahead of yourself. In terms of some of the punches you were ducking, and Sosa didn't seem that great a fighter, in fairness. But some of the punches you were ducking, it seemed like you could see them coming straight away, and you were using that chance to get in it at the body. I mean, body shots are they a big strength for you?
Yeah, body shots are huge. A lot of people can move the head and slip punches, but you can't move that body, and the more you break a body down, the more everything is going to slow down.
Wow. I would want to fight you, Donnie, I have to say. I wouldn't want to fight you.
It's not going to end well for you, buddy.
No. I tell you what, though. See when you come to Glasgow, we'll bring you in the birds and we'll start a few arguments.
Danny, can I ask you a question? And don't take this the wrong way, because there's nothing wrong with it. Like, as wearing the Celtic top, was that a sort of tactical thing to kind of bring it's captured their attention. So if it was a sort of deliberate tactical thing, it's worked, and I'm glad that you done it. Like, I'm not saying, I'm not putting it down or anything, but was this maybe Ken Casey's idea, or was it your own thing, or?
No, it was 100% my idea. Nothing about it was tactical. The fight before that, I wore the Revolution shirt into the ring because I fought after a Revolution soccer game at the stadium. So, when I support a club, I like to show it to everyone. And, I honestly didn't even think anyone was going to see me wearing the Celtic top, except for the people that were there.
To be honest, that's why I was actually thinking, because for people might say, cynics might say, well, they only done that to get the Celtic fans on board. But to be honest, there's no Celtic fans watching that fight. To be honest,
there was no one. I just did it because, I support the club. I support the Revolution also. And I have the jerseys handy next to me, and they're pretty much all I wear every day. I don't really wear normal clothes. I wear the clubs, and I got a Liverpool kit too.
You need to get a fight set up at Celtic Park.
Oh, yeah. I know, and I kind of got some stuff in the works. I was talking to Ken. I think it would be amazing to get over there. Maybe even be on the same card as Ricky Burns or something. Mm-hmm. I would love to, because, like I said before, I can only imagine what the atmosphere of fighting over there could be like, because, the fans are just so die hard. Like, I think that's another reason why I'm so attracted to the sport of soccer, is because the fans are different in soccer than any other sport. I mean, the fans are so loyal and supportive that you're part of something bigger. It literally is a family. Like, on Twitter, when they say Celtic family, like, it's not a lie. It literally is a family. Like, when you are going to have your day, week, even month ruined by the outcome of how your club, plays, that's something special, that you care that much about something.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we do this podcast, Danny, really. Because we're just passionate about it, We've never done this to promote ourselves or anything, and we don't make any money out of it. We use it to raise money for charity and different things, and just talk to people. And it's been a great outlet, And I think the internet's changed stuff like that. There changed communication and connectivity between guys like us and guys like you, and it seems just a marriage sort of well made, for me. And even in terms of your setup, I've watched your fights, and at the end of the fights, like, everybody comes into the ring, and everybody knows what they're going to do, and there's a photograph and stand. It's one big operation, and it seems really, really well oiled. And it seems like the decision and risk you took has landed you in an unbelievably unfathomable place, Yeah,
it does, but I have that mentality, like, I'm never satisfied. Like, when I get too happy, I just instantly think about living in the apartment with the cockroaches, and it brings me back down to normal, and it makes me just keep working. I think a lot of the time in a lot of sports, when an athlete gets, say he gets a lot of money, or, he gets maybe one belt or this and that, they kind of start to slow down. And I don't want that to happen to me, because I don't ever want to go back to how it was before. And, I just want to keep working hard and keep, reaching my goals.
And in terms of your followers, the Clan O'Connor, the fan family is what they're referred to.
Yeah.
How does that come about? I mean, how do you build a groundswell of support like that? I mean, it seems to just, obviously it's going to get bigger and bigger now. Yeah. But I mean, how does that?
Especially since you spoke to us.
Actually, you're probably going to lose some fans after this.
Get some more fans. DOC_boxing.
Absolutely. Follow Danny on Twitter. So I mean, that's how you get the word out? Twitter and the internet, and that what keeps your name out there?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, man, I'll be honest. I'm just, sometimes that the Facebook and the Twitter shit, it really is such a hassle. I don't want to have to go on and, tell people every time I go in the bathroom to take a pee. But it's like nowadays, that's the norm. And to build a brand and to sell myself, that's what I have to do. And at the end of the day, I enjoy talking to fans. That's probably why on a Sunday afternoon, when I have a day off from boxing, other than watching film, I'll talk to the fans. I'll be on Twitter for 3 hours just replying to people, because I enjoy talking to them. And I mean, I don't know, it's hard. Like, you want everybody to like you, and obviously not everyone's going to like you. And the more you get known, the more the haters are going to come out, and that's okay too. But It's hard work. I'm not gonna lie, it's hard work trying to get supporters. And the fan family and Clan O'Connor has been amazing to me. I mean, the motivation that they give me daily from supporting me, and a lot of those people are from back home in Boston, and they pay their hard-earned money to come watch me fight every time I'm at home. So, I'm thankful to them, definitely to them. And, all the new Celtic followers. Since I got out of the ring, I think like 3,000 new followers on Twitter. I mean, I couldn't even have dreamed that. I had no idea. So it really sets me back. It pulls me back and just has me be like, wow, this really is amazing because, for people to follow me, I mean, shit, I'm just a regular guy. So, I feel so overwhelmed with all this support of people. It's amazing. It really is.
Does your son know that you're a boxer? What does he understand what you do?
So, they come visit me a bunch of the times here in Texas. They're actually here right now because my wife Diane came down to take care of me when I was sick. I'm the biggest baby ever when I'm sick. You don't even know. Like I'm a mess. But so my son, I brought him to the gym a few times, and I get a call one day from Diane. Tells me she picked him up from daycare and he's punching everybody. I'm like, all right. So, I got him out there with the soccer ball every single day. He's only a year and a half, so it's hard for him to understand not to pick the ball up with his hands.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he understands it. He kicks it, and sometimes I go a little bit overboard. Like this morning, all I wanted to do was watch cartoons, and I made him watch the soccer channel till he cried, and then I got yelled at by Diane. But I don't know. I'll support whatever he wants to do. I would like to steer him towards something, career in soccer. But if he wanted to box, I'll support that too, I guess.
Fantastic. Anybody else want to jump in there, lads? Anything else? There are questions?
Paul?
No, just like what Danny was saying there about building up the support. I mean, I think he's going the right way about it, not just obviously coming on here and stuff, but like, I've looked at his timeline and the way he interacts with the fans and all that, and we all know that's what you've got to do these days. You can't, people that are famous now, they can't be aloof and they can't be kind of high-handed with people, and people do get drawn to that, because it's that kind of kinship that, attracts kind of your ordinary everyday guys. They realise that Danny's an ordinary everyday guy as well, just that happens that he's got a talent for hitting people, and so they will, because boxing is one of the last great working class sports, and I think that the kind of way Danny conducts himself is going to really set him up in the future.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. It's a funny story. A lot of the reason why I am, have you guys ever heard of Josh Hamilton, who plays American baseball?
Yeah.
Texas Rangers, yeah.
Yeah. So, he has big addiction problems. And when I was down here in Texas and I was all by myself, and it was, I was living in the ghetto, the Mexican part. So I was only white kid here. Everything was in Spanish. I didn't know anything. So I literally stayed in my apartment whenever I wasn't training. So I got his book and I read his whole book, and it told everything about his addiction, his comeback to baseball. And, I was in a really dark place at the time, but his book kept me going. So, I was so touched by the book that I'm like, you know what? I got to write this dude an email and tell him how the book, helped me. And when I wrote him an email and I never got a reply, that's when I was like, you know what? I will never, ever, ever not reply to anybody that writes me. Even if it's something that I think isn't worth replying to, they took their time to write to me, and I will always respond.
That's a great. That's a brilliant ethic that you got there, Danny. I think that's brilliant. And will we cut it off there then, lads? Or is there still more to go?
No, I've still got some stuff.
Go ahead. Far away. I'll just edit all this shit of me bumbling out.
So I mean, Danny, we're talking about everything up to date, your past, your history, blah blah blah, the fights you've had. What is the future for Danny O'Connor? I mean, you said you had a fight next week that's now off because you had the flu. I mean, what is the short term future? But I mean, you must have a timeline set out that eventually leads to a world title fight. Hopefully, and please God. What is the timeline? What is the structure of the plan of this?
Yeah, you know what? That's a very loaded question, and I'll tell you why. Because number one, the future definitely holds world championship belts. I mean, that's the whole reason I picked up a pair of gloves when I was 16, because I want to, I want to win those belts. I want every single one, every color they come in, I want around my waist. So now that I'm ranked top 15, I think it's, I'm in contention. I think pretty soon I'll be able to get that big fight. 2013, this next year, I really think it's going to be a big year for me. Boston Garden, possibly, maybe even Fenway Park, Celtic Park. I mean, these are things that I think about that what I want to do. Also, though, I would like boxing to open, it would be nice if I could make money off boxing to support my family, but that's not what I'm in it for. I'm in boxing because I love it, and it's, what I'm passionate about, and hopefully it can open other doors for me, when boxing's over, because I think there's a lot of fighters these days, kind of think in the moment, but I have a family, I have a wife, I have a son, so I'm always thinking about the future and what's going to happen. There has to be life after boxing, and hopefully, people will like me, and I'll be able to open doors when boxing's over. Maybe even start my own charity is something that I've thrown around with my wife. It's something that I really want to do. I really just want to give back and help, because there's been so many people that, have touched me along the way, who have helped me, that, it's just, I have to. I want to be one of those people that can help, and I don't know how yet that will be. Maybe it's, opening my own gym and training kids to keep them off the street, or maybe it's being a motivational speaker at the schools, or I don't know yet. But the future, it's endless. I feel like there's so many different ways I could go, and there's so many different ways that I want to go. But the immediate future is to win world championship belts, and hopefully within the next year I can capture that dream.
And how is the support? How is the support? Well, maybe not so much the support, but how is the coverage like in the media in America? I don't know so much about nationally, but like in Boston and stuff like that, are you getting real positive response? Are they starting to pick up on your story and pick up on your fights more and more?
Yeah, I mean, the media in Boston is really well. They treat me good, and whenever they can get me in the paper or on the news, they do. It's funny. A lot of people haven't even heard that part of my story about coming to Texas and not having any money and stuff like that. And I don't know. I mean, maybe I should publicize it more, but I don't know. I just, I am what I am, and I think hopefully now that people have taken notice to the hard work, hopefully I can get more coverage on, televised fights like HBO or, Showtime, ESPN, something where, not just the people in Boston are going to see me, but the whole world will get a chance to see me.
Where would be your, I've always I'd love to go to maybe so much not a dream, but I've always wanted to go to a world title fight in Las Vegas, say, right, in Caesar's Palace or something like that, right? But it'd have to be someday I really had a connection to. Do you know what I mean? I love Las Vegas. I've been umpteen times, but I'd love to go to a world title fight there. But I'd have loved to have went to see Ricky Hatton in Vegas, for instance. So, I mean, where would be your dream place to say you get a shot at the world title, right? Where would be your dream venue to have that fight? Boston Garden,
hands down. I mean, Boston's my home. I love it. It's what's comfortable to me. It's where all my fans are right now. And, growing up as a young kid, the Boston Garden was the place where they did everything. They had the Boston Celtics there, and, the Boston Garden really is, it's historical. So to be able to win a world championship belt there would, it would be unreal.
And there's one other question I think I've actually got written down here. How did the other fighters, what do they think about the Celtic stuff? I mean, have you had to explain to them what this jersey is that you're putting on and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I mean, probably like stablemates and guys you spar with and stuff like that. Maybe not so much opponents, but
it's yeah. I mean, I have to explain the jersey to everybody. It's kind of sad, and that just goes back to America kind of being a little bit behind on the times with soccer. Like, I know MLS, has gotten a lot better since it started and stuff like that, but the majority of the people, don't really go too in depth with soccer. So I have to explain the jersey to everyone, and the more people that I can reach, the more people will know about Celtic and about the Revolution. Yep. And it's just like spreading the word. If I talk to 1 or 10 people a day, that's 10 more people that know about the team.
Fantastic. Is it true you know how to sew?
Oh man! All right.
I was saving that one, Danny. I was saving that one.
Oh man! Yeah, how long do you have that one in the holster for?
It's been sitting in front of me the whole podcast.
All right. The backstory to that is that when I was growing up, my mom and dad are working class. We didn't have not too much money growing up. We were poor, so we didn't have cable. We didn't have TV. So my mother taught me how to sew. She did it to keep me busy. She thought it would come in handy. And, the first little bit of my boxing career, I sewed my own uniforms. I just, I didn't want to pay the hundreds of dollars custom.
I thought you were going to say you sewed your own cuts.
Oh, no. Oh, trunks.
Fucking Rambo.
I haven't sewn in like probably 2 years now, but back in the day I was really good at it.
I just popped up on Wikipedia. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, it seems that as well as wanting to be world champion, Ken Casey and yourself, I've read that the goal is to bring good quality boxing entertainment back to Massachusetts and back to Boston, in particular. And I've seen videos of you actually hitting the pads on stage with the Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah. And
in terms of bringing entertainment back to Boston and Massachusetts, in terms of boxing and even music, has there been a sort of a bit of a, what's the word I'm looking for? A bit of a drought in terms of that sort of event being in Boston?
You know what? I think there has been, and I don't think it's just Boston. I think there's been a little bit of drought, in general in the sport of boxing. You see all these super fights that are supposed to bring the sport back, and somehow they end up with some controversy. This judge doesn't do this, or this decision doesn't make this. So I think it's a majority. So our goal was to bring boxing back to the city of Boston. Back in the heyday, Boston was a huge fight city. I mean, we had Marvin Hagler, Rocky Marciano, then Mickey Ward. I mean, there was fights often and all the time, and it kind of dwindled down a little bit. Now there's not too many fights in Boston. You got to go down to like Rhode Island or somewhere else. So our main goal was to bring the sport back and get people excited about it again. And I think that they have. The first time I fought in Boston, it was new. People were excited. They came. The second time, they were more excited. More people came. And then the third time, I mean, Ken Casey had a little show. There was a charity show before the HBO fight. So all the supporters came to the show, and then they all walked from the show, which was about a half a mile in the casino, to the fight with a bagpipe. Scruffy from the band playing the bagpipe through the casino, about 300 of them, all the way from the show to the fight, coming in to support me, all wearing Danny O shirts. It was amazing.
Fantastic, man. I wish I'd have been there. That sounds great. And in terms of, can people buy merchandise, Danny? I've seen you wearing some pretty nice T-shirts.
Yeah, on my website, DannyO'ConnorBoxing.com, there's a web store, and they got a few different selections. The Boston Boxing Tee is my favorite one, but they got like 6 or 7 shirts on there.
Let me just have a look here. I'm actually, because I've seen some of the Clada Fun T-shirts and they look really good. And Danny O Boxing, there's some great stuff on there, man.
Yeah.
Danny, have you ever ran up the Rocky Steps?
I have not.
I've run up the Rocky Steps. I've done it on video. I've ran up the Rocky Steps.
It took you an hour.
To be honest, right, do you know what I done? Vicky was standing at the top of the steps, right? And do you know how they go down in levels? I actually started it for just 2 levels below, but you can only see me once you start recording, my head just kind of pops up from the level. So it looks like I've been coming all the way to the bottom. So there's a wee exclusive. I never really.
There you go, folks. Harper cannot run the Rocky Steps. And did you mention that you fell down them then?
I never fell.
Were you sober when you were running them up?
He's never sober, Danny.
I wasn't sober, no. I wasn't sober, no.
Nobody's.
So, Danny, just can I ask you a few things? And you're a Boston native. I'm actually going to be attending a wedding in Scarborough next year in Maine. But my plan is to go to Boston for 2 or 3 days. So I'm only going to have maybe, say, 3 nights in Boston. So tell me, what is my must-do thing when I go to Boston?
I would go down by Fenway Park. I mean, Fenway Park is...
I'm a big Mets fan. I'm a big baseball fan. I will be planning to visit Fenway.
Yeah, Fenway's amazing. I mean, there's so much history in the park and around it. I would say McGreevy's Pub. Definitely go there. That's the pub that Ken owns. It's right by Fenway.
Okay. And I had to ask, somebody actually asked, one of our regular listeners, Gary McGeady, wanted me to ask you if you were indeed a Red Sox fan.
I am a Red Sox fan. Growing up, my father loved baseball, so I used to go to, before everyone jumped on the bandwagon and now tickets are crazy and they're sold out, back in the day when you could get like $5 bleacher seats, I used to go to Red Sox, Yankee games, and, it was amazing. And, back in the day when like Roger Clemens pitched for the Red Sox and stuff. So, yeah, I'm a Red Sox fan. I have been since I've been a kid.
It's probably about this time we should tell you Paul's a Yankees fan.
Huh? Paul is?
Paul's a Yankees fan.
Yeah.
Oh, boo that.
Dude. I tell you what, I was in.
I'm glad he told you that while you're in Texas and I'm in Scotland. To be honest,
that was a polite way of saying it. Boo that.
I was actually in Boston. It must have been 2002. I went for about 4 days with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. I loved the place. And the place I went to that was great. That I think it's closed down. Was called the Littlest Pub. It's like it was a tiny little bar that held about 10 people.
10 people?
It was fantastic. And they had a band. It was amazing.
When you were there, it must have only held 8.
Hey! But we went out to Salem one day to check out all the sort of witch stuff, and I wore a Yankees sort of monkey hat, and everybody just busted my fucking balls.
Yeah, man.
You
can't wear that shit around here, bro.
All day. I went to the pub to order a drink, and before I even said a word, the guy's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" I was like, "What?"
I mean, wear some Yankee stuff in the pub, and they're probably spitting your beer.
Oh, Jesus. I'm glad I know that now and not then.
Yeah.
But I love
keep that stuff in the hotel room, man.
I love Boston. I took a tour of Boston, and some of the stories were fantastic because it's a very unique town.
What kind of tour? On the duck boats?
No, it wasn't a boat. It was on a bus. It just took us around the city, and the guy telling us stories. But one of the places I did go to that was really bad was Cheers.
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Terrible. It's an English pub, isn't it?
And some dude just followed me around for about 20 minutes.
I used to go up to Boston quite a lot to see the Celtics when I lived in New York, and I just loved it. It's a very, you're right what you say, Joe. It's very unique, and it doesn't really feel like an American city. It's got a huge, you can tell the history, with the revolution and stuff like that. And it's a place I could hang out in all day because it's in all week basically because it's such a friendly place and such a fantastic sports town.
Yeah, absolutely.
They absolutely love Celtics or Red Sox or Bruins.
When I think it's Boston's it's a lot different than other places. Like when I first came to Texas, I literally thought I was moving to Mars. It was so much different.
Yeah,
there's just a lot more history in Boston. It's I've been to London once. It's more similar to that than it is to Texas.
Definitely.
I've never been to Texas, so I mean, is it a culture shock for you, Danny? Is it?
Dude, it's. I mean, some days I still think I'm living on Mars. It's really different. I mean, Houston is like really. I don't know. It's so weird to explain. It's really spread out, and like I'm used to. Boston is. You don't need a car. You can take public transportation. It's a city. Like Houston is more like. There's a skyscraper, then right next to the skyscraper, there's a neighborhood. And then next to the neighborhood, there's 2 more skyscrapers. And it's really weird. And then if you drive outside the city limits, it's nothing. It looks like, country. Like people got farms and stuff with, cows and stuff. So it's really different. And there's so many different types of people in Houston that, you really have everything. There's a pub down there. It's called Richmond Arms. They got a lot of Irish and English people. They show all the soccer games there.
There's a Celtic supporters club in Houston because one of our sister podcasts, the Lost Boys, that actually started out. The two guys were living in Houston. One of the guys lives in England, but the American guy, Jamie. If you ever see a guy walking about with a huge head, with a Yankees hat on, and a Celtic jersey, that would be Jamie, right? He's probably carrying a gun as well. Just probably steer clear of him. But there is an active Houston. I think it's the Bobby Lennox Celtic Supporters Club. Is that right, Paul?
Yeah, there's also the Houston Emeralds.
There's two of them.
Yeah,
there's two of them here.
Oh, Stevie Chalmers, maybe that's who I was thinking. Is not Bobby Lennox then, no?
No, I'm saying that there's the Houston Emerald that's run by Joe Chalmers.
Joe Chalmers, right.
And then there's the Houston Bobby Lennox as well.
That's right. So I go in there, Danny, and the boys, I'm sure a lot of the boys listen to this podcast. I know certainly Joe Chalmers does, so go in there and just tell them who you are, and you'll be treated well.
Do you know what the home base bar is?
No, I've never been personally.
We can ask Chris on that.
What the bar is, Paul, do you know?
No, but certainly
we'll find out and send you.
Yeah. Well, if they're listening, DOC_boxing, they find me on Twitter, I'll be there.
Joe Chalmers will definitely be listening, but we'll find that out and we'll sort you out and you get down there and maybe catch a game one Sunday when you're not training. That'd be brilliant for you.
Even when I am training, it don't matter because the games are, watching them from over here, they're on at like 6 in the morning or I can always work around it.
Yeah, no, we'll certainly set you up with those guys, put you in contact. So is that us, Joe?
I think so. Here, the one thing I'd say about Boston, Harper, they had this spicy chicken sandwich that they sold. I don't know if it's a Boston thing, Danny, or not, but it was a chicken wing sandwich. It was a chicken breast with chicken wing sauce on it and blue cheese. I don't know what it was called, but it was fucking divine.
Always comes back to food, Paul.
I actually got the venue here. It's called the Stats Sports and Bar and Grill, and it's on 10850 Welterweight Road, Houston, Texas.
Stats, yeah,
STATS Sports Bar and Grill, Welterweight Road, Houston, Texas.
I'm gonna write this down. Stats.
Cool. The boys will be delighted.
Got it.
I think that's us then, isn't it?
Mm.
That's pretty much it. So I just do a bit of an outro here then.
Well, just what I said, Danny. We'll keep in contact. We'll keep a close watch on your career. Hopefully, if you do make it across in January, I don't know if you've got a plan to come to Dublin, but I see the boys are playing in Dublin. Myself and Joe are talking about going along to that gig in Dublin. See the drop.
So when I come with them in January, I'm coming with them to Dublin for 2 nights. Then we're going to Scotland.
I tell you,
we'll see you in January then because we're going to get tickets for that gig.
I tell you what, Danny, you know what would be a really good opportunity? You've heard about this thing they're having here next year called The Gathering?
I have not.
There's a thing in Ireland called The Gathering, right? It's a big tourism push to get Irish people from abroad to come back, right, to Ireland. They have all these different events on. But they had Notre Dame versus Navy at the Aviva Stadium. I was at that. That was fucking brilliant, right? Yeah. It was great fun. But I don't know. You just mentioned the Ken because I know a guy that was involved in setting up that game, and he's part of this gathering thing next year. So that could be an opportunity for you and him or the band to get something out of that. You know what I mean? Because it's a huge thing next year. There's fucking billboards for it everywhere.
Absolutely.
So just mention to him.
The more opportunities I have to get over there, I would take them in a second. I can't wait. I'm already excited about everything.
No, that's right, man. We'll certainly look forward to that. We'll definitely see you in January then.
Absolutely, Danny, and we want to thank you for coming on. You've been an absolute star. It's been a great story. Great talking to you, great listening to you. Absolutely brilliant.
My pleasure.
So I just do a quick. Paul, do you want to have a chat? Say something there? Sorry.
Oh, I just wanted to say, Danny, all the best for the future. Hope to see you in Scotland at Celtic Park in January, and it's been a real honour and a pleasure talking to you, Danny.
And further down the line, I hope to see you at Celtic Park. Just how we get introduced before the game, and you're walking out with one of those belts held above your head.
Absolutely,
yeah, man. Hey, it's been my pleasure chatting with you guys. Anytime you want me to come back on, I'm here for you guys.
Thank you very much, Danny. Absolute pleasure. So, folks, there you go. The Furious Fenian Fists of Danny O'Connor. I love that. That's great. That's got to stick. So thank you very much for listening to the HomeBhoys Extra podcast. And a goodbye from me. Goodbye from Harper.
Good night.
Paul.
Good night.
And Danny O'Connor, star of the show.
Take it easy, guys.
Thanks very much. Hail, hail, folks.